All right, we are live. Welcome, everybody. Welcome back to session 3 of the Owning It webinar. This is 3 of a 4-part series. If you are just now joining us or you got this video from somebody, please do yourself a favor and go back and do sessions 1 and 2 because everything we do builds on the previous session. If you've been with us for 3 weeks so far, I want to thank you and tell you how much I appreciate you. Again, my name is Brandon Johnson, and today we're going to talk about season the carp, or the day as it actually means, and how do we actually take the steps to enhance our overall life experience. How do we do the things to become the person we want to become and live the life we want to live. So, once again, if you haven't done so already, which by session 3 I hope you have your participant workbook. You have the slides printed if you prefer it that way. If you have not done so, please go ahead and do that because they will have your questions and places for you to capture your reflections and thoughts. With that, I want to go back and look at what we did so far in sessions 1 and 2. The first thing we did is really reflected on your current life situation. And once again, it's a life situation because it can be a different situation tomorrow. It's not permanent. It's not in stone. It can change, flex, or adjust. Okay? So we identified that. We started to track our shoulds and become more aware of our self-talk. Those things we say to ourselves like I am, or I should be doing this, or whatever that is. You've been journaling that for a couple weeks. Last week you created a desired state of being with an I am statement for your future. Who do you want to be? What do you want your life experience to be at the end of the day? And that's where we're going to actually pick up where we left off. Okay? So, how do your captured shoulds relate to the desired I am statement that you created? So let's look at this a little bit. Over the last 2 weeks, I've asked you to journal every day about your shoulds. When do they come up? What are they about? What direction are they giving you? And last week, I gave you some direction on how to self-identify who you want to become. How do those relate? So the self-talk that you have every time you tell yourself you should be doing something is your own internal indicator. Remember we talked about that Jiminy Cricket character, that consciousness of how do you actually get to your desired life. A lot of people refer to this as intuition. It's funny because we talk to a lot of people and they say, I don't know where to start. I don't know what to do. You know where to start. You know what to do. You tell yourself all the time, I should be doing this. Do those things. And what you'll start to realize is those shoulds actually line up directly with your future I am, and they are the steps. They are the catalyst. They are the things you need to do, the actions you need to take, the day you need to seize to make progress towards that future state. So, how can owning and creating a more clear I am statement influence the actions you take towards your goal? You spent some time on this last week. You've played with it a little bit. Do you really know what that future identity is? If yes, great. If not, we want to get some real clarity on that because what that'll do, remember that I am statement, it really is the bold declaration of who we are. It guides all of our decisions, our actions, and our beliefs, which will lead to our overall life experience. Knowing that and starting to put in the work, let's look at what we're going to do in session 3 and how you can carpe the diem. How you can seize the day every day to build that desired I am life and those shoulds that you've been identifying. So in this session, what we're going to look at is we're going to actually initiate a new life experience. Remember, the beliefs, the actions, and the results make up the entire experience. Some of them are more influenceable than others, but at some point they all tie together, right? The whole premise is if we have enough enjoyable experiences that lead to our I am statement, our entire life becomes a more enjoyable experience. So we want to identify opportunities around that. We want to recognize and navigate the potential roadblocks that might get in the way. And then we're going to identify the actionable steps to build your desired life experience. Okay, that's what we're going to do today. So before we move on, I'm going to pause and say if you haven't done the work up to this point and really put the effort into it, go back, pause session 3, and start from session 1 and do the pieces, because that is going to really dictate what you get out of this session. Okay? If you feel good about it, let's go ahead and move forward. I want to pose the question on what if. What if instead of having this idea of I should and not doing anything with it and talking yourself out of it and giving yourself a limit or an expectation of, nope, that's not for me, I'm just going to sit here and watch TV. What if your I shoulds turned into I dids? What would your life look like? How would it be different? How would you engage differently with the world? How would you feel different? Think about that for a second. Sometimes people have a really hard time, I know I do, with thinking of these, how would I feel different or how would my life look different, because it's hard to foresee. You don't know what you don't know, right? So a good way to do that is to actually put yourself in the shoes of some other person that is doing that. So what I want you to do is I want you to identify those possibilities. Think of someone that you know that has achieved success. I'm going to put achieve success in air quotes here because that looks different for everybody. Let's say what that looks like is they have achieved your I am statement. They're living an image of what you want to live. Think of this person. What do you think they believe to be true about themselves? What do you think their I am statements are? What are 10 actions this person takes to make progress towards accomplishing and achieving that I am life statement? And what strengths of theirs do you think that they use to act on their shoulds even when they don't want to? And if you're listening to the recording of this, this is a great time to pause it and answer these questions before you move on. Just because you don't have this life yet doesn't mean it's not possible for you. Others have what you're looking for, which shows that it's possible. Not because they're smarter than you, better than you, more privileged than you. Some of that might play into it. I will be the first to tell you that I am not the smartest. I do have a lot of privilege. I understand that. I'm not the prettiest, but I do know that there are things more possible for me than what I'm doing. These other people that we're thinking of, they just recognize what they need to do, and then they go and do it. They recognize their shoulds, and they change their shoulds to I dids. That's it. You can also, you just have to set yourself up for success. You have to put the systems in place. So, how do you actually create this possible life? This is what we've been talking about the whole time. You know how to achieve your goals. You tell yourself all the time, follow your shoulds. I should do this. Yes, you should. In those moments, that's your opportunity. You know how to achieve your goals. The key is in those moments when you say I should, to actually get up, follow them, and they will lead you to success. They will be the actions you need to take in order to live your desired life experience. So let's break this down a little bit. Pull from your I am statements that you worked on this week. Go ahead and jot that down and reconnect with it. Your new future state I am. I want you to also pull out your journal of all the shoulds you've been capturing over the last 2 weeks. And go through and highlight, mark, circle the actions that if you did them would lead to this I am statement. Capture all of them. It may be 5, it may be 30, it may be 100. If you've actually done a really good job of journaling every time, you might have captured 200. Just write them down. What are those shoulds that would lead to your I am statement? And then once you have that list, I want you to just pick a few or highlight them, mark them somehow, that you are actually most likely to act on. Some of them you might see and you're like, I should do that. And you're like, there's no way in hell I'm doing that. That's okay. That's okay. There's a bunch of different ways to get to your I am. We want to leverage the ones that you are most likely to do. So signify the ones that you're most likely to act on. And then I want you to really contemplate what gets in your way from acting on those when they come up. And you might have captured some of this in your journal already, but look at that, revisit that. What keeps me from doing those things in the moment? And then finally, what are your strengths that you can leverage to navigate those roadblocks that get in your way? Think about those things you're really good at. It doesn't have to just be in this one area of life. It could be, what are you good at in any area? How can you leverage those strengths to make sure you actually act on your shoulds? For example, maybe you're working on your relationship with your spouse, right? And you have a clear I am statement, but you know that it's hard for you to be very spontaneous with either flowers or a date night or spring those sorts of things on. But those are the things you should be doing to enhance that relationship, right? So how do you navigate the things you're not good at, those roadblocks, with what you are good at? Maybe you're really good at organizing and planning your life. Maybe you're very list-oriented. So what if you plan spontaneity? What if you plan date nights a month out? Don't tell your significant other that that's what you're doing. It's still a surprise to them, but you can leverage what you're good at. You can leverage your strength. You can put random dates on your calendar to stop and bring home flowers on your way home from work one day. That way it's scheduled, you know it's there, you know in advance you're going to do it, you can prepare for it. But with your spouse, your significant other, it's still doing the things that you should be doing to create the spontaneity to enhance that relationship. Does that make sense? So take a minute and really consider what you're good at and how you can leverage it to act on your shoulds. Perfect. So what I want you to do is I want you, out of all those shoulds, I want you to identify 10 things you could start doing to make progress towards your I am statement goal. 10 things. Okay? And I want you to trim that list down and pick 3 to 5 that you could start doing today, right away from where you are with what you have. Make sure you have the resources. Make sure you know how to do it. And I want you to notice how you feel about each of those. Okay? And then from those 3 to 5, I want you to narrow it down to 1 or 2 that you would enjoy committing to on a regular basis. Focus on enjoying that process. Focus on enjoying the experience, because that's what this is about. Remember, it's not the outcome. It's about the feeling around it. And focus on getting some quick wins, right? If your goal is to lose 50 pounds, that's going to take time. But if your goal is to order a salad or go meatless Mondays or to drop bread one day a week, and you can do that one day, that's a big win. Or just one meal. You know what? no bread. Bunless hamburger, no croutons on my salad. Can you do that today, now with what you have? That's a big win. Okay? So I want you over the next week to identify those things. Before we leave today, I want you to keep in mind a couple things. Okay? If you don't like the activity, explore other ways to achieve the same thing. So if the activity to get to your I am statement doesn't connect with you, the shoulds, are there other possibilities to have the same outcome? Ask yourself, what is the intent of this outcome? And what can I do that I enjoy doing to get the same results? This is a huge one in fitness goals. If you hate running, don't set running goals. But if you like photography, can you take that outside? Can you do a hike and take pictures? Do something you enjoy to get a similar result. Does that make sense? I also want you to tap into your hobbies and interests. Utilize things you're good at, because whenever we're doing things we're good at, we stay more connected, we feel better about it. And I want you to contemplate opportunities and support systems that you might have. Think about the people. Think about the communities. Think about the apps. Think about anything that will make it easier for you. Okay? And then I also want you to understand the difference between finding time and making time. If this is what you want out of life, if this is who you want to be, the experience you want to have, then you have to make the time. It becomes the most important thing. Everything else falls around it. Okay? I'm going to recommend a video to you. Google Big Rocks by Stephen Covey. Again, that's Big Rocks by Stephen Covey. What he's going to do is he's going to show you what are the things that's most important and how do you build your life around them. If your health, your relationships, your career, if that's the most important thing, it cannot take the back burner. It has to be up front. All right? So that is it for today. That is session 3. Moving forward, session 4 is going to be exploring those belief systems. A lot of this has been around actions, because our actions will deliver results that will change our beliefs. But another way to influence this is to actually start with your beliefs. So let me know, as always, if I can help you this week before the next session. And if I don't hear from you, have a wonderful week. And I look forward to ending the Owning It webinar with you next week, session 4. We're going to explore our belief systems. Have a great week.